Hi everybody, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday, and this week I'm going to be showing you another stitch technique called a cable twist, as much as we can get a cable twist technique in crochet. Because many people ask, how can you create a cable effect like you get in knitting? And although it'll never look as good as knitting, there are various techniques that you can use using crochet stitches to create a kind of a cable effect, and this is one of them. This is the simplest version that I can probably show you in a video. That you can make more complicated versions by using more stitches, make them bigger, but I'm going to show you how to make this simple cable technique in a crochet project. This isn't a video for beginners, I'm afraid. I never say never, give it a try if you want to, but you will need knowledge of the front post stitch and the back post stitch, and you're going to have to be pretty used to using a crochet hook because it can get a little bit fiddly when we do the crossover. Okay, so I'm going to put that down and bring in a little project where I want to add a cable twist. Okay, so I've got my little simple project here where I want to start adding in a cable twist, and this is just made up of double crochets, and I've got how many have I got? I've got 12 in total, and what I want to do is I want to have one stitch there, and I want to have 2 double crochet stitches in between, starting off in between my cable stitches. Okay, so this is in US terminology as well. So what we're going to do on this next row is I want to start adding some cable stitches. I'm going to do my little chain one, which I don't count as a stitch, and then I turn, and I'm going to work straight into this first stitch. And first of all, I want to work out where I want my cable to start appearing, and I want it to appear nice and central in the middle. So I'm going to have 4 stitches this side and 4 stitches this side. Then I'm going to have 2 in the middle, and these 2 here, that one and that one, are going to be my cable stitches. So the first thing to do is to work up to our cable stitch. So I'm just going to do some normal double crochets, and I'm going to do 4 just to get to the middle. 1, I'm just going into the top stitch as normal, so normal double crochets, 2, 3 and 4. And now I want to start working my cable stitch. So instead of working into the stitch at the top, we're going to do a front post stitch. And to do a front post stitch, instead of going into the stitch there at the top, we're going to go behind the stitch, the previous double crochet below. So we just literally go to the back and then behind and out for the next gap, and then we do a double crochet as normal, like so. So we've just worked the double crochet around the previous double crochet instead of in the stitch at the top, and you can see that's created a slight ribbing effect, which you can see is a bit blurry because it's in the background. And then we want our 2 normal double crochets in between to start off with. So we've done a front post stitch, but now we're just going to go back to doing a normal double crochet in that top stitch in the next stitch. Okay, so I do 1 double crochet, and then we want 2 in the middle in between our front post stitches. So I'm going to go into the next stitch as normal and do a double crochet in there. So we've just got 2 nice normal double crochet stitches worked into those top stitches as normal. And now we want the other side of our cable twist technique stitch thing. So we're going to do another front post stitch. So instead of going into the stitch at the top, we go round the back of the previous double crochet and out the other side. So we just literally go around the back. So hopefully you're familiar with the front post stitch. And we do a front post stitch. So there we go, we've got the beginnings there of our cable twist. And then we just finish up with the 4 normal stitches the other side, the other end. So just go into the top stitch as normal and do normal double crochets to the end of our project. 2, 3 and 4. So I've got 4 double crochets either side of my cable twist. Okay, so I'm going to have 4 normal stitches this side, 4 normal stitches that side, and 2 normal ones in the middle. My cable is going to start here and here. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to work on the next row, but because we're working in rows rather than going round and round, like for example in a hat, we're going to have to work back post stitches as well when we work in the opposite direction. If we were working a hat and just going round in circles, we could just keep working the front post stitch, but because we're working in rows, we're going to have to work the back post stitch to keep our ribbed effect this side. So to do that, what I do is to get onto my next row, I always do a chain 1, don't count that as a stitch, and turn, and then I work straight into the first stitch. And the first thing to do is our 4 double crochets in from the end. So let's do 4 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that gets us back to the middle where we're doing our cable twist. Now whenever we're working the back, this is what I'm calling the back, where we do our back post stitches. I'm not going to be doing any twisting because this involves doing some twisting of techniques of stitches. So I'm not going to be doing that on the back at all. I'm just going to be using the back just to get across to the other side to then work on our pattern the other side, just because it's a bit easier to twist front post stitches than it is to twist back post stitches. So when we work the back side, we're just extending what we've already done on the previous row. So all we're going to do in the next stitch is we had a front post stitch that side, so we've done our 4 in, and we've met our front post stitch there. So now we need to do a back post stitch. Now to do a back post stitch, normally with a front post stitch we go in from the front, makes sense, but when we're doing a back post stitch we have to come from the back and then go back to the back. So you're wrapping around the double crochet, the front post stitch double crochet from the previous row in the opposite direction. So let's show you that again quickly. Hopefully you're familiar with the back post stitch, but I'll show you quickly for those who aren't. So with the front post stitch we go from the front, so this is the front and we're going to go front to back, but with the back post stitch we're going to come from the back and then go out through the next hole, and then we bring the yarn through and we're sort of working at the back and do a double crochet as normal, and that wraps the double crochet around the previous double crochet, but it keeps the ribbed effect this side, so this side, rather than doing it this side. If we did a front post stitch this side, the raised effect would appear this side, and it would all, you get the basket effect, the basket stitch. So now we've done that, we can just do our 2 normal double crochets in the middle. So making sure you get the right stitch. It's not going to be that stitch there because that's where our front post and back post stitches are. So in the next stitch we just do a normal double crochet. We want 2 in the middle to begin with. We've just got 2 in the middle, so we do 2, those 2 normal ones, and then we've reached our next front post stitch. There's our front post stitch, nicely raised. So we need to do a back post stitch again, and to do that is an easy way perhaps explaining, rather than trying to do it that way, you could just turn your work so you can see your front post stitch and just pop your hook underneath it and then bring the yarn through. It does exactly the same thing. It might just be a bit easier for you, but you've still wrapped it around from the back. Okay, so we've done a back post stitch, and then we just finish up with our 4 stitches at the end. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, So when we chain one to turn over, we can have a look at what's going on. We've basically just extended the ribs, the rib effects, the rib stitches, and because we did back post on the previous row, it's kept the ribbed effect this side. So it should look a little something like that at the moment, but now we need to start bringing them in to twist them over to get this sort of cable twist effect. So we're going to do a little something different, but we're going to be doing it on the front side, which I call where we do our front post stitches, because it's just easier to see. So the first thing to do is do our 4 double crochets at the end, or however many stitches you have in between your cable twist. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now to get the ribbed stitches to start crossing inwards to get narrower, we have to swap stitches over basically. So we need to start getting the 2 double crochets that are in the middle here to the outside, and that forces the rib stitch to come inwards. Then we cross them over and come back out. So what we do first of all is we need to swap over these 2 stitches, which is our ribbed stitch and our normal double crochet. So all we do is we skip the stitch, we skip this ribbed one for now, and we're just going to go and do our first normal double crochet in between them. So we just skip and then do a normal double crochet, and then we go back and do our front post stitch. So we've just done our normal one, we skip that for now and just went on to the next stitch. Now we're going to go back and do our rib stitch. So we just yarn over, and then we go back and do our front post stitch. So remember to do our front post stitch, we go from the front to the back, just pop it under that double crochet, and do your double crochet as normal. So you've done your front post stitch like that, and what that has done is that has twisted the stitches around. They've swapped places. You've made your front post stitch become here and your normal double crochet here. So now this side you've got 5 normal double crochets instead of 4. They've basically swapped places. And we do the same again here. So we've got a normal double crochet there, and we've got our front post stitch. So we do our front post stitch first this time. So we go from the front to the back and around the back of that previous double crochet front post stitch. I will put a link in the description to videos that specifically focus on the front post and back post stitch if you want to check those out. So we skip our normal double crochet and we do our front post first, and then we go back and do our double crochet, but we want to make sure that the ribbed effect stays on top. So instead of going just over like that and trying to work your double crochet that's in the middle, what we're going to do is we're just going to fold that down and find that previous stitch, and there it is, and that makes it a bit easier to see. So we yarn over, fold the work down and find that previous stitch that we skipped, just that normal stitch, just doing a normal double crochet, and work your normal double crochet. Oh, and I've lost my yarn over, just hold that, bend that down, find that normal stitch and do a double crochet. Okay, and what that has done, it's swapped those stitches over as well. So our front post has come into the middle and our normal double crochet is the other side. So now we end up with 5 this side as well, and they've all come in by 1 stitch. So let's finish up with our last 4. Make sure we get the right stitch, not that one there because that's our previous stitch. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. But because we swapped those stitches over, we now have 5 normal double crochets either side, and our rib stitches are right in the middle together. Basically you can see there 2 stitches and are together now. Okay, so then we're just going to do our back post stitch row, and all we're doing with the back post stitch, we don't do any swapping over of stitches, we just extend what we've already done. So chain 1 and turn. This time we're going to count 5 double crochets in now, because remember we've got 5 at the end now instead of 4. So we just do 5, 1 double crochet in the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, and then that brings us to our 2 rib stitches in the middle, as you can see them there. And we have to do back post stitches, so they're probably the easiest thing to do because it can look a little bit confusing trying to find them all in there. So it's probably easier just to yarn over, turn your work over so you can actually see them, the rib stitches there and there, and just prop your hook, tuck it underneath the stitch, which is effectively doing exactly the same as a back post stitch. You're just coming in from the back like that and wrapping it round. But if you turn it over, all you're doing is tucking it underneath, and then we bring the yarn through and do a normal double crochet. And of course we need to do that twice because we've got the other one right next to it. So I'm just going to tuck it under and do a double crochet, and then coming back down normally we need to count 5 double crochets, remember, because we swapped that one over. So making sure to get the right one. It's not there. If you're unsure, you can just count from the end in. It's not going to be that one there because that is our ribbed stitch. So it's going to be this one. 1, 2, always good to count to make sure your stitch count stays right. 2, 3, 4 and 5. So all we've done this side is extended what we've already been doing. We haven't twisted over, swapped any stitches at all. We've just extended what we've already been doing. And now we're going to turn over, so chain 1 and turn. And now we're working back with our front post stitches. But you can see from the previous row, all you've done is extended it, what you've been doing. But now we need to swap these 2 over in the middle. So they're about here at the moment where they're in the middle. We literally want to swap them over. And it's the same technique, we just skip the first one and do the second one, then come back and do the first one. But the first thing to do is we're going to count 5 in, because we've got 5 at the ends at the moment. So 1 double crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've done our 5 normal stitches at the end, and now we've got our 2 rib stitches in the middle. And to swap them over, we literally just work the second one first. So we yarn over. We're doing front pose this time, so we're going from the front to the back, and we're just going to tuck it under and do the second one first. So we do the second double crochet front post stitch, we skip that one there and we do that one first, and then we go back and do this one. So we come back and do the previous one, just tucking it under there, doing a double crochet front post stitch there, and that swapped those 2 over, because you skipped the first one first and did the second one, then went back and did the first one. It just swaps them over and it creates the twist in the middle. And then we count the 5 at the end as normal. 5 double crochets at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now we're just going to do our back post row, where we're just extending what we've already done. We don't do any swapping of stitches. So chain 1 and turn. Count 5 in, so 1 double crochet in the next 5. 1, whatever, how many you are working in between your ribs twisty thingies. 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now we need to work back post stitches, remember, but we're just doing them as normal, we're not swapping them over. And if you find it easier, because they're so close together, it can be hard to figure out how to do it from the back. So when you do back post stitches all like this, it can get very confusing. So I do recommend just turning it over, and we're going to, because we swap these over, this one on top is the one we want to work first because it's come this side, it's been twisted over to the other side. So we do that one first because, as you can see, there's the next stitch there. So we know that's the one we need to be doing first. So we're not swapping anything, we're just extending what we've already done. So tuck it under and do a double crochet, do your back post stitch, and then we do the one that's been moved over to the other side. So that one was brought over to this side. Let's show you. That one there is the one that's been brought over to this side, and this one's been tucked under, was done first, you remember, and has now come this side. So that's the next one we need to do. So if it's easier, you can just flatten that down and find that one that's tucked underneath. There he is. And do your back post stitch. And I've lost my yarn over. Back post stitch. Okay. And then we do the 5 stitches as normal. 5 double crochets at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know this might seem complicated if you're not used to doing front post, back post stitches, so if you're not used to doing them, I do recommend checking out my beginner videos on those stitches before attempting this, otherwise you might send yourself slightly insane. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we need to start thinking about bringing these stitches out. But you can see we've crossed them over nicely like that. That one's tucked underneath and coming out this side, and this one's coming over to this side. And now we need to start thinking about getting our space in between back. Okay, like here they've swapped over and then they're coming out wider here, and you've got those 2 normal stitches in between. So to do that, we're now doing a front post row, so we can start swapping over stitches. Chain 1, turn. Right, we count 4 in again because we need to start transferring that 5th double crochet that we brought out to the end back into the middle. We need to get it back in between them. So let's only count 4 double crochets from the end, like we did at the beginning. So 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we want to swap these over. So this 5th one that we swapped out to the outside at the beginning, we need to swap it back into the middle. We need to get it in between those ribbed stitches again. So all we do is we skip that 5th one and we do our front post stitch. So tuck our hook underneath that previous front post double crochet stitch and do a double crochet front post stitch. And then we need to go back and do our normal stitch, but we don't want to do it from the front. Remember, we want to just fold that down, fold that double crochet we've just done down, and find the previous stitch. Let's see if I can find it first. There it is. So folding it down, just find that previous stitch, and that keeps it at the back. That keeps it underneath our front post stitch, so it doesn't start, you don't start getting normal stitches coming over your rib stitches, which you don't want. And now you can see you've swapped those over, so you've got a nice normal stitch in the middle. We need to do the same this side as well. The first thing to do is, the next stitch would be a front post stitch, and then there's our 5th stitch there, which is on the outside. So we do our normal stitch first this time. So we just go into that top stitch, do a normal double crochet, and then we go back and do our front post stitch. So it's kind of like the opposite of what we've just done, like a mirror image. like so, and then that swaps those two over. You see now your rib stitch is going this side, and you've brought that normal stitch back into the center. And then we finish up with 1 double crochet in the last 4. Just as normal, nice normal double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So by swapping those stitches over, by skipping the first one and coming back to it after, you've managed to bring those 2 normal stitches back into the middle. You've got your spacing come back. And then we just do our back post row, which is an extension of what we've already been doing. We're not swapping anything. So chain 1 and turn. And remember to count just 4 double crochets in from the end, because we swap those 5th ones back to the middle. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're just extending what we've done on the previous row. So the next one is going to be that front post stitch, because we swapped it over. That 5th one is now in the middle, so we need to do that front post stitch there. Remember, we need to do a back post stitch because we're at the back. So you can either do it normally, looking at it like that, come from the back and go round. So come from the back and go round, do a back post stitch, or what I find easier is just tip it up and then just tuck it under. It's much easier to understand it then. So we do our back post stitch, and then because we swapped that normal stitch is now in between our rib stitches, we do a normal stitch. Now it can sometimes be a bit tricky finding out which stitch to work into, but you just need to find your rib stitch there. It's going to be that one, so it's going to be this nice big one here. So we do our normal stitch, okay, and then because we swap these 2 over, our normal stitch is in the middle, we do another normal stitch in the next stitch. So we've got those 2 normal stitches in the middle. And then our ribbed stitch has been moved over, so we need to do our next back post stitch. It's just easier just to tuck it under and do a back post stitch, double crochet back post. Then we finish up with the 4 on the end, and make sure that one there belongs to our back post stitch, so it's going to be the next one. So just counting from the end if you're not sure. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so you've just extended what you've been doing on the previous row. Let's bring that up, turn it over. And you can see it more obviously now that you've got the space back in between the middle, and you're technically back where you started at the very beginning. So you would just carry on doing, go back to the beginning where I showed you where you introduce your first front post stitches. You do the same again, and it will just repeat it. So that is just a repeat of that, and when you join them together you end up with this twisty effect. So I'm just going to do that quickly, just repeat everything I've just done, and there we go. There is our simple cable twist crochet design, so which is really good fun. You could add those to leggings if you wanted to, or a bag, or whatever, and it's a really fun thing to do, to experiment with, just swapping front post stitches and normal stitches over, so you get a nice twist like that. But I hope you found that tutorial useful. Some of you may have found it a bit hard if you're not used to the front post and back post stitch. I will put a link in the description to those stitches in detail if you're new to them. But I hope you managed to follow along. I hope you found it useful. And today we've been using our very own Happy Berry yarn. We've been using our sky blue and our lavender purple, which you can buy on our website at happyberry.co.uk, and we ship worldwide. But I will see you soon for some more crochet fun, some more crochet projects, and yeah, thanks for watching guys, bye!